Welcome back to the Business Simple podcast for episode number 3, Growing Through Meta. I'm James, your host, the founder and director of Digital Simple. Really excited to have you all back here. If you're new here, there are 2 different series, I suppose you could say, to the Business Simple podcast. We've got stories and learnings kind of broken down into 2 separate sections. So stories is based around guests humanizing people doing cool things in business and helping to give you guys their practical tips that will help you and what you're trying to do with your business journey. And then the learnings section, which is what we're in today, which is where I give practical pieces of information. They're a little bit snappier and we just go based off our experiences and what we're learning in real time, growing a business like I am, that hopefully you can benefit from. For today, real nice, snappy, sharp one. We're going to be talking about Meta. For my business, the number one place the number one thing that we've done that has led to our growth has been social media advertising. And in other podcasts, I'll talk about other areas of our advertising that we've done. But for the sake of today, I'm going to just talk to you about social media. So the reason why I feel like it's worth listening to me about this subject is we've actually managed over $20 million worth of social media ads. The primary focus of all of these ads we've run has been lead generation. That's been what we've focused on. For us, obviously, it's in a B2B perspective. For our clients, often it's in a business to consumer perspective. And we also do a lot of work in the e-commerce space as well. One of our clients alone has over $800 million of attributed sales to ads we've run for them through Meta. So we know what we do works. We know it can lead to sales. What are the steps that are involved in getting there? And what process do you need to go through in order to be able to run a business that grows as a result of the work that you do on Meta? For us personally, what this looked like was I've spent north of $100,000 of my own cash on our Meta advertising. There's been fails, there's been successes throughout that process. The one thing that I will say though, and this is probably the most important part with social media advertising, is that if you're going to run ads on Meta, you need to understand that 9 out of 10 things you do aren't going to work. The 1 out of 10 though that does pays for everything that you've spent that hasn't worked, plus a whole lot more. So it's about testing, it's about trying, and it's about doing lots of things. Things to think about if you've never advertised on Meta before. I think a lot of people that we talk to every day, and that a lot of the feedback we get is that people don't view social media as a selling tool. And obviously with some of the stats that I've spoken about earlier, I can kind of debunk that through experience. But the biggest thing, or the biggest mindset shift I would make, is that your target demographic on social media platforms, at least 90% of them are. And if you have a good story to tell those people, opportunities will appear as a result of you advertising there and as a result of them seeing you there. If you set things up properly and if you do the work, there's no reason why talking to thousands of extra potential customers won't lead to outcomes like what you're going to be wanting, which is extra customers, extra opportunities, all sorts of those things. The other thing to keep an eye on is people often view platforms like social media as a space for you to sell t-shirts. That customer that we spoke about with the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of sales, they're doing the opposite of selling t-shirts. They're selling properties. And so the big opportunity there, or the arbitrage, if you will, is in actually selling more valuable items on platforms like Meta than t-shirts, because the cost to acquire a customer is obviously higher for more expensive items, but it doesn't multiply in line with how much more valuable that item is. Your offer and your sales process are really important. When you look at platforms like Meta, there are thousands of businesses advertising that are all trying to reach the same people that you are. If you have the same offer or a worse offer than those businesses, it's really hard to stand out. So making sure that your positioning is really clear, what's unique about your business is really clear, and what you're doing stands out is super important. And then if you're running, say, a lead generation campaign, what happens with those leads after they inquire is really important too. The reason for this is a lot of the people that will come through off social media lead generation campaigns aren't in a ready to buy now scenario. Instead, they're in a ready to buy at some point scenario. And so your sales process from there is really the deciding factor as to whether that campaign's a success or a failure, and making sure that you nail that whole process is really key. Another thing to think about that we ponder all the time here, obviously running ads for so many customers, is that not all ads are created equal. So being on social media is one thing, doing it well is a whole nother. Your creatives, your headlines, your copy, the audience that you target, the conversions that you use, all of those things are a part of a big equation that decides what your return on investment will be. And so making sure that you're nailing all of those points as best as you can is really important if you want super high quality outcomes or super high caliber outcomes. If you're already on Meta, you want some better results. Here's my top 3 tips. If you've got low lead quality, which is something that we stumble across more often than not, what that looks like is leads that aren't interested in your product, they don't get what you're up to, they maybe don't even remember inquiring with you in the first place. Something that you need to do is you need to really focus on how you turn that initial engagement, i.e. the click on your ad or whatever it is, into a lead. Is it using a Facebook lead form where the data is pre-filled, or is it driving them through to your website, or is it driving them through to a landing page? Are they going to Messenger to message you? How are you actually turning that engagement into an opportunity? My suggestion is, based on the current things we're doing right now, landing pages are better than any other thing that we're doing right now. That landing page has to be set up properly, but provided you have a landing page that's converting effectively and clearly explains your product and has clear call to actions and that sort of thing, I'd argue you probably want above a 2% conversion rate on that page. You will increase the quality of leads and the cost won't get too blown out as well. If you've got low lead volume, chances are that the barrier to inquiring with your business after engagement is too high or your offer is not strong enough. And so what you need to do as far as the barrier goes is drop it. Are you driving people through to the homepage of your website and then just letting them find their own way to inquire with you? Simplify that a little bit. Go to a landing page, maybe even if the volume's really low, add in lead forms just with some qualifying questions put in there. Do something to make it easier to inquire with your business. You could even add extra call to actions on the homepage of your website. If your offer is not strong enough, you need to figure out what it is that your potential customers actually want from your business. You need to clearly communicate with people as they go through the process of seeing your ads and considering inquiring with you. Once you've checked off those things, one thing you really need to consider is incorporating video. There's a reason why I'm sitting here right now in front of a camera with all this effort gone into this thing, and it's because people care about who they're buying from, the personality of those people, and ensuring those things are aligned. If you incorporate video, it will not only increase the performance of your leads, like your lead generation campaigns or your sales campaigns, provided the structure behind the video is correct, but it will also help grow your brand and your personal presence in the market at the same time, especially if you're willing to jump on camera like this and do what is uncomfortable for a lot of people and just communicate with people around what's going on. You need to test everything. You need to try short copy, long copy, middle copy, short videos, long videos, 90-second videos, images, carousels, plain images, images with logos, images with text, different headlines, some that are a little bit, have some fun with some ads, be really serious in ads. You need to do everything in order to understand what your customer actually wants to see from you, including testing a whole different range of offers and trialing a whole bunch of extra stuff as well. You have to understand funnels. This is probably one of our main things that we do for people, where you can set up a system where you have maybe some educational styled content that you run to a really broad audience, and that's what you define as the top of your funnel. That might be videos or carousels. It could be how to run Facebook ads, and it could be a snippet from this podcast I could even use for something like this. Me explaining some key things that we do that help us run our ads differently to other people. People will then engage with that video and that will show you they're interested. So if someone watches, say, 50% of that video or more, you now know they're pretty keen on what it is that you're talking about. You can then run your middle of funnel messaging just to people that have watched a percentage or higher of your videos. And that messaging might be, are you stuck with your Meta ads? Have a chat with us. Here's how you can inquire. And you might work in a landing page or something like that gives off a little bit more details around how your business works and all those sorts of things. People go through to that landing page and they don't inquire with you. There's a chance that they don't believe you can solve their problem. So then you can run ads to people who visit that landing page on the middle of funnel ads, but don't inquire with what we would call bottom of funnel messaging. So that's a really good opportunity to show case studies, testimonials, things that will solve people's objections to buying from you before they actually have to inquire. Once you've gone through and checked off all those boxes, you've put yourself in the best possible chance to succeed, especially if you're doing lots of testing at each stage of the funnel. You need to test in order to find the point of what is your correct campaign structure, what are your correct conversions, what suits your business best. Each business we deal with has a different outcome that they wind up at, that is their dream outcome. Some will be lead forms because they need lots of leads because they've got a big sales team. Some will be landing pages and funnels because they only want 2 leads a week, but they just want them to be really good ones. And that's an example of maybe the owner calling the leads themselves. It's just about building out what is right for you. Then once you've got your campaign structure, you need to start really stressing about assets. We try as much as possible to avoid using any form of stock imagery with our ads because it is just the lowest imagination way to create extra assets. We would much prefer go and shoot some video with a client, take some pictures of them on a building site or talking to a customer or doing something like that. So they have imagery that is sort of stock, but at least it's customized to them. I just find the stock imagery tends to really stand out as being unoriginal on a feed, and with unimpressive assets, you tend to get unimpressive results. So think about that. And then the final thing is if you've listened to all this and you're running Meta ads right now, what can you do tomorrow to improve your results? I would suggest just creating a little bit of a checklist, and it's, are we actively testing imagery? Are we actively testing copy? Are we actively testing headlines? And are we trying different versions of conversions, i.e. landing pages, lead forms, things like that? And are we testing different audiences? If the answer is yes to all of those questions, you're ahead of 99% of advertisers on Meta. And so that's a really good start. And from there, build off, are we using video and are we using funnels? And if you go through it in that order, I promise you will find you'll get better outcomes through your Meta advertising than what you are at the moment. You can get super creative with this stuff, running videos that don't actually relate to your product, but do really relate to your target audience, and then retargeting them with your product and doing really cool stuff like that. But checking off the basics and the simple things first is what's going to make a really big difference. That's all I've got for you today when it comes to growing with Meta. As I mentioned, it's been a really key part of my business's growth, and our ability to continue to grow in what is a really challenging market has just, it really boils down to the leads we get. We're pretty good at going out and finding opportunities, but it's just that little bit nicer when they come to you. So I hope this has been beneficial. I hope there's something that you can take from it. If there is, obviously share it with someone. Even let us know that you've benefited from it. It would mean a lot to me. And yeah, I appreciate you listening all the way through to this point. I will catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.